I've been in this really deep prayer mode for the last few days. I had this realization the other day. I was laying and I was staring at my ceiling, and really I was meditating with my eyes open, because sometimes I can see images, but the image that came up during the meditation that I'm talking about specifically was Sean being the happiest man alive. Like, actually, it was like he had found something. He found something. What it is, maybe only he will know, but he found it within. Something that maybe he didn't ever know existed. Something maybe he has been looking for. But whatever it is within himself. And like, I had this vision when I was meditating of him finding this thing within himself, and oh my gosh, I had never felt or seen a man with that much joy. The happiness he had was impenetrable, and it was powered by no external source, no external force, no one except for him, no one. And because this image is in like my mind while I'm meditating, I guess you can call it a psychic vision, or you can call it ESP, whatever you want to call it, okay? Clairvoyance, I don't know. But the happiness he had was, it felt like a gift. Like he had been gifted happiness. And because it was a gift, it couldn't be tampered with or taken away. That the happiness was given to him whole. It was given to him wholeheartedly. It was given to him without a return. Like no returns, no exchanges, just pure happiness. And it was his, and everything was different about him. Even the way he interacted with his fan base on social media, it was different. His fans could tell he was happy. And that was when my definition of handsome changed. when I had that psychic vision. Because normally pop culture, I guess, would define a handsome man as someone who's good looking. And he's eye candy, you know. But when I had that vision of Sean, I was just like, oh no, that is handsome. Okay, that is a beautiful man. Like a man that is so happy, no one or nothing can take that from him. It's happiness so pure that you don't have to necessarily see him smile just to know that he's happy. Where the happiness is almost like glowing, like illumination or something, and it's like shining out of him. And anybody who comes into contact with him, or anybody who ever sees him, just the happiness is contagious almost. Anyone that he comes across instantly is happy because he's happy. Like happiness that is all powerful. That's the vision that I had the other day. And it's interesting because I don't ever really know what causes me to sit down and meditate sometimes. But I have these moments where I have to sit down and I have to be still, because there's something that I'm sensing, but it isn't clear. It's an image, it's some information, it's something that I am perceiving, but I can't receive the message or receive the image, receive the information fully until I sit down, be still, and allow it to almost materialize in my mind. And the other day I was sitting and I was just being as still as possible. And then this version of Sean. And the thing is, I don't feel like anybody ever who has ever known any man to exist knows what his happiest self feels like or looks like or is like except for him. No one. I don't care how close, how significant that person is. No one knows what a man's most high self feels like except for him. And when I say most high, I feel like the term most high self sometimes is kind of put in a box. And the thinking of what a most high self is can be extremely limited, to where, to me, our most high self is when we experience our personality at its healthiest, when our mind is its healthiest, when we are nourished emotionally, when we're aligned spiritually. There's so much on my chest, so much that I want to say. And while I'm doing this reading, ultimately the reading is talking about leaving no stone unturned to make sure that you succeed, no matter the cost. Being willing to succeed, being willing to align with greater potentials, no matter the sacrifice or what the sacrifice may be in order to experience that potential. And recently I've been getting really grumpy when I'm hungry, really grumpy, but it's helping me to understand like babies better. Like when babies get upset, when they're like irritated and they're hungry. That's me, really. I fed myself and then I put on some Bob Ross. I love Bob Ross. He is just a gem. I love him so much. So much. Like the king of the imagination, Bob Ross. I love him. He can turn my mood around so fast. All I gotta do is just hear his voice and I'm like, oh my god, Bob, I missed you. When I go too long without Bob, something just doesn't feel right. Something just doesn't feel right, you know. Anyways, so really what I'm thinking about is like, I have a lot of episodes talking about Shawn Mendes. I have a lot of material on my channel talking about Shawn Mendes. I have a lot of music and poetry, poetic art, a lot of artistic expression involving Shawn as an inspiration. And I feel like I want to embrace my love for him even more, because even in my previous episodes you can tell I've kind of dealt with a little bit of back and forth wanting to embrace the love I have for him and being shy about it. In one of my previous episodes I talked about this time in my life where I cried so hard, because where I was crying and crying and crying and crying and crying for like days, weeks, because I loved Shawn so much and I can understand why. Literally at that time in my life, I would go to sleep at night and he would be my dreams every single night, but it wouldn't be the version of him that like is seen on social media, and the version of him that, yes, I'm talking about my Shawn Mendes fantasies, my Shawn Mendes dreams. At this point I'm just like fearless about it. I really don't care anymore. I think I reached the point where I'm like, this is just who I am at this point. Like, I'm a freaking fanatic, okay? So yes, for at least like a month or two, every single night, I would fall asleep and he would be there in my dreams. You remember earlier when I was saying that it was like he found something? Well, if I could put a name to it, it would be like paradise. You know, but paradise within himself, which in reality, I think that this is what is an actual representation of heaven. What heaven really is, I believe, is like paradise, living in paradise, no matter where you are, no matter who you seem to be, or what may happen tomorrow, or what's happening right now. Doesn't matter, you are in paradise. And that was a version of him that would come to me in my sleep and like just talk. He would just talk. And he would just talk about all of his dreams and his goals for the world, and he would just talk about everything that made him so happy. And every night I would just listen to him and listen to him and listen to him every night. Like, I'm telling you, every single night. And it caused me so much pain because I would have this version of him that is literally non-existent on social media, and I've never met him personally, so I don't really know where or how this version of him is existing. But it was interesting because I was just like, where is this version of him coming from? Because even in his interviews and stuff, or like what it is that you see of him that is available, it's still limited. Like, we see a version of him, but this version of him that I was dreaming about definitely did not exist when I woke up. And my heart was fucking breaking because I'm like, wait. And this was around the time of like the Oscars and the Met. The Met and the Oscars, and just earlier in 2022, and when he was still a little bit active, before he kind of like went into hermit mode and decided to cancel his world tour. Even though I've seen him do events, still, that's just, all of this kind of besides the point. The whole point is that the version of him that I was dreaming about, there was no evidence of this man existing in my waking reality, and that I felt like I was being deceived. I felt like the universe was lying to me. I felt like I was literally heartbroken. I'm not even kidding. Like, I would go to sleep and this different guy, I don't know, he would come and he would be so fucking happy. And I think for me, what like made it so devastating was that he would tell me so many different things. And the thing about that is, like, I'm not in control over that experience. It felt like hell. Like, he was in heaven and I was in hell. And at night I would visit him in heaven, or he would come visit me. And then when I woke up the next day, it's like I was living in a world without him existing, like whatever version of Sean that I saw on social media just wasn't the same guy who was in my dreams every single night, because the information was different. He had a different personality, he was happier. And he was just, not saying that when he's not happy I'm not dreaming about him, but like the version of him that was coming to see me every night was definitely happy, so fucking happy. I just want to emphasize that, like. And so I would have to go through my entire day with this memory of him that isn't real at all, like at all. And that I'm seeing this guy be portrayed in the media, and I'm seeing him interact on social media and all of this, and it's just like different. I came across Lana Del Rey for some reason. I don't know, I felt called to her, which is interesting because until this year, until I started like dreaming about Sean every single night and then waking up and feeling like death, I hadn't gotten into Lana Del Rey. I hadn't gotten into her music because just wasn't really my style. I guess I couldn't resonate at the time, but at the same time, it's like I didn't have any experience that would allow me to resonate, because I had never dreamt about my dream guy. Like, dream guys normally are 100% hypothetical and do not come visit you in your sleep and tell you sweet bedtime stories and then disappear when the morning comes. That is literally a dream guy, that he only exists in my dreams. Until this experience, like I said, I didn't really, and I think that that's also what was also making me hurt so much and breaking my heart so much, is because I didn't know if anyone else had ever experienced that. I didn't know if I was the only woman that ever knew what it felt like to love someone so much and have what feels like their highest self come to you every night and like just talk, and then see a different version of them when you wake up. Two different worlds, like heaven when you go to sleep, and then hell when you wake up, because he doesn't exist really. And I was like, oh no, if I'm the only woman that knows what this feels like, this is really fucked up, universe. Like this is actually torture. Like, it felt like I was living in my own personal hell, that at some point I had died, and this is what I had to like go through every for I don't know however long, going to sleep dreaming about Sean at his healthiest, at his happiest, and then waking up and him literally being someone else that I don't know and have never met in my life. And that I had to deal with that every single night, feeling like I know everything about him because he's telling me every secret that he's ever had, every dream or goal or fear or desire he's ever had. And then waking up and seeing this man that I never met. But anyways, going back to what I was saying, I was like, if I'm the only woman that knows what this feels like, I swear this is actually hell. But then Born to Die, that album saved my life. I no longer felt alone. I swear Lana like acted as my most high self seriously during that time of my life, because every single song was exactly what I was experiencing. Every single song, every single one. And for the first time for a long period, I have finally felt sane for being so in love. Like, it felt like, okay, I'm sane, that there are other women who love so deeply that they would literally rather die than to dream about him every night and then wake up and he's not there, and he's not the same guy that I dreamt about. Man, oh man, oh my gosh. And it's so interesting because like there's no other artist, no other album. It was almost like she had wrote that album just for me, that was her gift to me, that at some point I would grow up, you know. It may not resonate with it when it comes out, but eventually nature will guide me to this album, and it would be everything that I would need for the love I was experiencing. So deep, man. And then it's like it feels like freaking torture, because you're falling in love. Like, he's not just coming and seeing me in my sleep, man, and just, oh, it's just a regular dream that you get up and you're going about your day. No, I'm literally falling in love, like deeper and deeper and deeper, because every night he's coming and he's programming my mind to only think about his thoughts and his goals and his desires. And then when I wake up, it's like he never existed. Like I never existed. But I still have all this love that I feel from this dream version of him. And I swear I am so grateful for Lana Del Rey, like really, because that album really crystallizes the experience of a divine feminine when she's in love. How it feels to be in love as a divine feminine, for real. And still I haven't heard any, and I'm telling you, like, there are a lot of women who make music about being in love, but nothing compares to Born to Die. Nothing compares. You will not ever hear any art that perfectly records and describes the experience that it feels like to have true love in your heart. Oh my gosh. So for any guy who wants to know what a girl goes through when she is truthfully in love, listen to that album, yo, and you'll know. Oh my gosh, I swear it felt like she was watching my life and wrote that album. Like she had powers and she was from the future or something. that like she knew the future. She wrote this album just so I could have it, and it would save my life because I wouldn't feel like insane for being so in love. So that's my story. Something that I wanted to get off my chest. But if I'm being honest, I think that that's why I feared him, Sean, at some point in my life, because there was this version of him that was my dream guy. I was falling in love, and then I would wake up and he wouldn't be the same person. And I think that it made me afraid because I didn't know what kind of power that was. Like, what kind of power is that? How was someone able to do that? You know, especially when, I'm not gonna say the love is uninvited, but it most certainly was not. A decision that I feel like I had a part in. Him coming in my dreams every night and being my dream guy, and then telling me all these things by himself, showing me this version of him that is like God. And I feel like that's also something else, is that I feared his power. I feared the freaking power of this man, because in my head, I think over time, that's how I perceived him, like a god who could come in my dreams and make me fall in love, and then there'd be no real evidence of him existing in reality, only in my imagination. And I guess maybe this God version of him, it made me afraid because I felt powerless. A fear that I would lose all control over my imagination, because there would always be this version of him that I perceive as all powerful. That's how he portrays himself in my mind. And I'm not going to say that this portrayal is unbelievable, because it's very fucking believable that I can love this version of him that seems to be the Most High. And then in my waking reality, it's like that guy's non-existent, because I see no evidence of him being this. even though I'm not his personal life, so that's even more the reason why I was afraid. Like, where is this love coming from? And how am I able to have it without him physically being present and only existing in my imagination? But this is like God in general, this concept of a God, a supreme being, the divine, a completely imaginary concept, this God. But the feeling of the presence, the feeling of the power, this expression of unity, this feeling of oneness with the power. Yet there is no evidence of a source, no clear direction of where this God is, where he could be coming from. Yet you can feel his power. And I think that that's why it makes it so easy to fear someone like that, is that you can feel them, especially when you see things that are unexplainable, like serendipity or like divine intervention, where you see evidence of God clear as day, yet he himself is hidden from the naked eye. I was so afraid of this God, fear of God, because he is all powerful, because he is all knowing, because he is everywhere. And you are only human, and he makes himself present in our lives. At least in my life, he makes himself present in infinite ways that are unseen, ways that are unheard but recorded and stored in my memory. And therefore I know he exists, because he has shown me time and time again that we are one. And I think that that's where the duality happens, is that the imagination is his world. It is his home. It's interesting because my perception of a place of worship, like a sacred place, some people define as a building like a church or synagogue. Some people even say nature. But I would just say the imagination, to me, is the only place where God has ever made himself known. The only place where our world is all our own, where what is real is individual and not collective, which is very similar to God. The belief in God is individual, not collective. But I think that I have been taught to fear certain images of God, certain experiences of God, certain forms of worship of God, because it does not fit the collective. But as I just stated before, that what is real is individual and not collective, including God. And I have had to sacrifice that fear, the fear of worshiping God as an individual, fear of worshiping God as an individual instead of as a collective. Because everyone's experience of God is unique. There is no way we can worship God the same if no one is experiencing this concept as another. And if everyone's experience of God is special and carefully designed to fit their perception of good or bad, right or wrong, real or fake, then I guess I just wonder to myself, what sense does it make to worship God in a way that pleases anyone else's idea, or that confines to anyone else's idea of praise? Because in my imagination, I've been doing my hardest to ask God to stop revealing himself to me through Sean. I have been afraid that this image of Sean in my mind that I perceive as all powerful, I've been so afraid of acknowledging and accepting and embracing God in the way that he shows himself to me, because of the way the collective teaches us to identify. But everyone's imagination is different, and I think that this God that is all-knowing, is all-powerful, is everywhere present, knows the best way out of all the infinite ways that are possible. I believe that he chooses the best way. And I see a lot of Sean stans say all the time, like, yeah, he's a god, oh, he's a god, yeah, like, we love him, yeah, all this Sean worship, but, like, I'm not talking about the version of him that's human, man. His reputation, or his fame, or his fortune, or his money, or any of those things has nothing to do with that. I'm not even talking about the version of him that has all of those things, or that even uses them. There's a different version of him whose only power is his heart. And this version of him, like, he doesn't even really speak because he has no need to. His spirit is all the expression that is necessary. His love is all the expression necessary. He doesn't even use the part of him that is human in order to be alive, in order to experience his humanity. He comes to me with only that which is God. And I don't mean that in a way where, like, he's trying to be God. I mean that the soul, the spirit, the power that is life, that is eternal, that is creative, that is universal. This power is all that he uses to live, and that his brain and physical body, none of these things are what he carries. No, it's like he had achieved the highest form of unity. Seriously, man. Like I said, he doesn't even carry his body. He doesn't carry any hurt, any unforgiveness. He doesn't carry his fame, or he doesn't carry his fortune. He doesn't carry any of those things. This man is literally like only in possession of light. That if he owns anything, that's it. That is it. And it pours through him, and it is him. You can't separate the light from the being. And just being in his presence is healing. His essence has a sort of purifying, sanctifying nature, because he's connected to nature in that way. And that's the guy I dream about. And that's the guy I visualize every day. The personality of God is infinite, in that I had to kind of break this limited kind of thinking that God could not communicate through the personality of a human being, and kind of get out of this belief that God does not have personality, and that he doesn't know what it is like to be human. And I feel like a lot of breaking that is understanding that the human can only ever be perfect if he is a creation of God, that the only personality possible would be that of God. And I think there's this concept of like, or this idea of a perfect man and what his personality would be like, that there's certain things he won't do or certain things he will do, or he'll look this way or be this way. And I think I had to eliminate the imperfection when thinking about the human. I think it is the belief that humans are imperfect is what keeps the God concealed within their personality. And also the fear of God can prevent him from taking the form of a human in our imagination and presenting himself to us through the personality of a human. And that wouldn't it be God to see a person's personality as God created, to see someone at their most high, and that is true unity and oneness with God in your imagination, to see all of creation as perfect, no matter how the personality exists physically, but the way that is presented to you in your imagination, that you believe in that perfection that exists within your imagination, and that it is possible to become reality. And that maybe the image of perfection that exists in your imagination is that which you are intended to contribute to the world to make it better. And if not for the entire human race, then at least for just that one human that you see within them, the form of God is all that they are. The poet jumped out there. The poet came out. The poet, I cannot hide the poet, okay? The poet within me has a mind of her own. But seriously though, and that's something that I've been kind of battling with, thinking like, Amina, like what if like your ability to see this man as a form of God is something that is a gift, that beyond everything that makes him separate from you, different from you, everything that makes him who he is as an individual, that beyond that, maybe it is love to only ever see in him the form of God, because that is how he is presented to you in your mind. And no matter what the world says, no matter what he says, no matter what anyone says, that you hold faith to the image of him in your mind as his most healthy, as his healthiest, as his happiest self. And maybe it's your purpose to hold that as reality no matter what. And that's something I've been really taking on, the reality part. And that like all of the flaw within him is undetectable no matter what. And my thing is like, how do you process that? I think the thing is that like the whole idea is to always stay faithful to the God in him that I see, the God in him which is also the God in me, the God in nature, the God in all. Like no matter what ugly or hurtful things I come to discover about his humanity, his past, or his darkness, or no matter what the world comes to discover as to always hold as reality, the Most High. And I treat him with that respect. I love him at that capacity, of him being the form of God that is gifted to me by the universe. Because I think, like true love, you can allow someone to be who they are wholeheartedly. Like you can allow them to be and show their darkness, show their insecurities, show their imperfections, and yet you still hold only as real in your mind that they are a gift, that their presence is intended to be a form of evidence that God is with you, and that you can expect them to act like God. You can expect them to fulfill all your desires and to be all-knowing. You can expect that. But you can have faith, again, that they are a gift. And to hold true only, again, that their presence is evidence of your own connectedness to all. And I've been holding that expression in for so long. Everything that I just said about Sean, I didn't know how to express it, without just sounding like a crazy fangirl who's like, oh my God, he is my God, and la la la, okay, great, cool, yeah, a lot of Sean's fans are in love with him. It doesn't matter what gender you are, it doesn't matter who you are. And I think that that's always something I've always wondered, what makes me so different than all of the rest of his fans who literally are dreaming about him, who have faith in him. But I think it's that my faith isn't in the man, but the God existing in the form of a man, and that everything the man does, it is not that I worship that, but more so that I am honoring and respecting that within him is sense a God.